PolitiFact.com, the 2018 Men's World Cup prize money was $400 million, compared to the $30 million prize for the Women's World Cup in 2019. That is a difference of $370 million. Why is there a pay disparity between the men and women's soccer teams?
It comes down to pay equality. The differential is significant between the men and women's team salaries. In this table we see a $16,275 difference between player pay per game won, a $5,000 difference for game loss, a $53,750 differential for making the World Cup team, and lastly, a whopping $7 million difference for performance in the respective World Cups. The difference in the quality of the team's performance has been solidified, with the women winning the past 2 World Cups, whereas the men didn't even qualify for the 2018 World Cup. In an article written by Andrew Doss of the New York Times on March 8, 2019, 28 members of the women's national soccer team filed a gender discrimination lawsuit against the United States Soccer Federation, alleging violations of the Equal Pay Act and class action complaint for violations of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This fight initially began privately and became public to shed light on the matter at hand to the world. The lawsuit was filed 3 months before the women went on to fight for and eventually win their second straight World Cup championship. The women going on to win yet again highlighted that their pay should be equal to their performance and not based off of gender. An article from Stephen Johnson of BigThink.com stated that U.S. women's soccer teams since the start of 2016 through 2018 have been generating more revenue than the U.S. men's soccer team. The figures during that span were $50.8 million versus $49.9 million in favor of the women, which resulted in a $1.9 million differential. Nike chief executive officer mentioned that the U.S. women's home soccer jersey is the best-selling soccer jersey in history among men or women. Women are fighting for what they rightfully deserve. That's to be treated equal as their counterparts, the men's U.S. soccer team. In an article by Satya Marar of Fee.org, Marar talks about how men's sports historically have brought in more viewers than women's, but now we live in a time for social change. The 2019 Women's World Cup brought in 14 million viewers, beating the 2018 men's final. A majority of sports teams today get their funding through private sponsorships. An example mentioned in the article states, the United States Soccer Federation sourced over half of its revenue from sponsorship. Unfortunately, for the U.S. women's soccer team, it hasn't been about their performance and victories. It has been about their gender. MarketWatch.com states that the wage gap isn't just about salaries, but could affect the endorsement deals as well. A male soccer star can earn up to $44 million a year through endorsement deals because of receiving more visibility through more airtime on television. It's finally taken back-to-back World Cup victories for people at games to chant equal pay, to get the attention of the United States Soccer Federation and companies for endorsement deals. The exposure of the lawsuit and recent World Cup championship have shown the world the discrimination that still exists among genders. Deodorant brand and sponsor of the Women's World Cup felt so strongly about this issue that they donated $529,000 to the soccer team to be divided among the 23 players in order to help close the wage gap.
The numbers don't lie. Men's soccer continues to be paid more than their female counterparts, despite the fact that women's soccer continues to bring in more revenue through increased championship titles, viewers, and merchandise. It is a shame that the U.S. women's national soccer team had to file a lawsuit against the Soccer Federation for the opportunity to be heard. Men have been earning more than women since the beginning of the history of this sport. However, now can be the time that we finally close the gap. We can support this change by supporting women in sports, watching, and letting the Soccer Federation know that we want to be on the right side of history and give the women's national soccer team equal pay.